what about like the kind of Christian nationalist overtones, the more MAGA stuff? Like, how does that play? How does that play with like wellness communities? Why are they even attracted to that?
I'm doing an episode or leading it up. We all focus on different things, and I'm working on one on muscular Christianity right now because it is a very important strain of what has created MAGA in general. And I'm glad you pulled up the Disinformation Doesn't report, because it really shows that even though a lot of these figures are not known, their imprint is huge to a lot of right-wing people who probably don't even realize where that information is coming from.
Yeah.
Christian nationalism has been predominantly male, very, very muscular. That's where the term comes from, for over 2 centuries. And it comes about anytime there are societal changes, because there's this idea that no, we have this society that is the perfect godly one, and now you're diverging from that, so we need to bring it back. I mean, Joe Rogan, you mentioned before, is a very perfect figure. Even though he's not Christian, he very much fits that archetype of what is involved in this movement. And evangelicals have been making debates where they don't exist forever. So the whole idea that creationism is a debate with evolutionary biology was something that they constructed and marketed in the 1990s. And they specifically chased after scientists to debate them about it, to give it legitimacy.
The right's favorite thing. That's their tactic of debate.
And that's exactly what you're seeing now too. I mean, with the transgender issue, which you brought up, for example, it's like for a group that's so anti-science, they'll cling to this idea of gender that doesn't even make sense. And it's always over and over again. They're gonna like, I remember years ago when they picked out the God gene from your prefrontal cortex and see, this is proof of God. So there is an actual science behind it, but the evangelical strain of Christianity has been responsible for a lot of the regression that we've experienced as a culture, and right now we're going through that again.
Yeah, because someone like Christiane Northrup is attracting, I think, predominantly women, which makes sense. Or some yogis. I mean, I know it's predominantly women. There's that. That's the pastel QAnon, the woo-anon. But then through wellness and extreme masculinity and, like you're saying, Christian muscles.
Muscular Christianity, that's the term.
Christianity. You're attracting a whole other world of people, especially men. And Rogan is a definite Trojan horse for a lot of this. And he has this sphere around him. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about him and his world, but like, I am fascinated by someone you guys turned me on to, Aubrey Marcus, and his sort of influencer grift.
Why don't you start with Rogan, Julian? I'll pick up on Aubrey.
There's so much there. I mean, the thing about Joe Rogan is he has a very long podcast that he records multiple episodes for every week, and it's the most listened to thing in the world. Yeah. And so he reaches millions and millions of people. And I think that to speak in his favor, over the course of many years, he's had a really diverse range of guests along this the intellectual spectrum and the political spectrum. And as the pandemic has continued, he has just gone further and further into what we were describing a little bit ago as that sort of extreme individualism, rugged individualism, an idea of masculinity and health that is very fascist, that he probably doesn't realize that it is, but it's very rooted in this idea that you can be this strong, healthy, genetically superior male, and then you won't have to worry about any of the things that the rest of us are vulnerable to. And just this week, there was stuff being circulated, little clips where he was talking about, obese people and how dare you look down on me because you've been vaccinated when you're obese. Because if you get it, you're going to do terribly. And it just took me like 3 days because I'm so badass. My whole life is about being healthy, says the millionaire who's got like a cryogenic chamber and a flotation tank in his house. Just nuts. And so, what we saw was in April of last year, he said, young, healthy people don't need the vaccine. That made huge headlines. In June of last year, he had Brett Weinstein and Pierre Corey on the show for a first time ever emergency podcast version of the Joe Rogan Experience to talk about how vaccines were how ivermectin was being suppressed because Big Pharma wanted to make money off of vaccines, and that the vaccines don't work. And really, ivermectin is the thing that's going to help you. And so it just goes on. Now he's had Peter McCullough on, and just recently Robert
and everyone's
Malone.
shitting their pants over this, over
and
their
it's
horse
having a
paste.
massive impact. It's having over the horse paste. Yeah, but he is really at this point, as each month has gone on. Last year, he has platformed more and more real anti-vax kingpins who are now having a huge influence on all the people who have been hesitant to get vaccinated. I think they're being swayed in the wrong direction. It's pretty appalling.
And he's, I know, like, he's sort of in that comedy and health fitness like nexus, and so there's comics in his orbit whose like careers he's launched, and then there's like wellness people and other grifters who are like have launched their careers off of him. So it's like someone like Aubrey Marcus is fascinating to me. These guys, by the way, they all tilt and tend MAGA. They're all, and we'll get to their home state or whatever the hell they're trying to build. But
cool. Aubrey, let's talk about Aubrey because you brought him up. He was Joe Rogan's partner when founding On It back in like 10 years ago. So Aubrey Marcus is the son of a guy who made a lot of money in Texas oil. I'm guessing a trust fund kid. So probably self-made. Yeah. His mother's husband invented the fleshlight. Which
never heard of that. Can you explain
which Rogan advertised? And I'm pointing that out specifically because you'll see a trend here. When they started On It, he promoted Alpha Brain. Now, the Alpha Brain study that Rogan was always big on, part of the team that researched it was Rogan's uncle. And it's not a credible study at all, but On It sold to Unilever last year, I'm guessing for tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So they both cashed out. So millionaire is undercutting it by quite a bit, Julian. Alpha Brain was formulated by Aubrey Marcus's stepmother, Janet Zand.
What is it, a supplement?
It's a supplement that Joe Rogan once said, it helps me write sentences better. So it's a nootropic. It's a nootropic.
Well, you don't write. Come on.
It's a nootropic, and it was formulated by Janet Zan, who is an acupuncturist and a homeopathist who has no real medical training. But there's this insular community of grifting that has been going on for at least a decade in this Austin community, but centered around Marcus and Rogan. They are the sort of kingpins of this. And you'll notice if you look back through the Rogan catalog, all the times he slips in all of these different nootropics and all these supplements, all these things he's taken, and then you find out there's a vested interest going on there. So this is I can't say it's been planned the whole time, but they have definitely been pushing it on a monetization effort for a long time. And again, these are substances that have never actually been clinically proven to do anything, but they are making a lot of money selling the fears around big pharma so they can monetize in their own way.
And I wanted to add to that, Francesca, Janet Zand, Zand has been making supplements and herbal cleanses for many decades. And so there's already a track record there of like, oh, here's how you market things that have not been shown to actually work and make a ton of money doing so.
Right. Yeah. This is that. Yeah, it is very clear that it's a grift. It's also Aubrey Marcus going down the rabbit hole of him. We can leave him behind, but he's also like sells these like almost feels like, AA retreats, but kind of nebulous. Like, we're going to help you with your addiction, and we're just going to fill all your addiction with psychedelics, which are drugs, and also sex, lots of sex and psychedelics. And we're going to heal. And also #MAGA. Like, it's so bonkers. And that like extreme masculinity, I don't know. I get like mega creepo, like gross vibes from that huge predator vibes. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.